Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liv. I'm an independent author and I am still trying to figure out my lighting situation. But it's all good. It's all good. We're here. Yeah. So if you didn't know, my work in progress, so to speak, is a sorority romance featuring an autistic protagonist with the working title Violet's Novel. And my current only released novel, Saving Summer, is a YA, I don't want to call it a romance because like there's romance in the plot, but like if you've read it, you know that's not, you wouldn't call it that. So, but if you want to check that one out, it is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and the link in my description if you want to take a look at that one, see if it's something you're interested in. All right, but what I'm here to talk about today is actually how I got into writing in the first place, because I realized I've never actually talked about that. Like, I feel like maybe in a long deleted video, perhaps I have brought this up. I just want to give a disclaimer here. I did not write notes for this. I am doing this by the seat of my pants, and it goes everywhere. Like there is like some semblance of chronological order of my writing journey in this video, but it just goes all over the place because of the way that my brain works, and so I hope you just enjoy me rambling about I've brought this topic up, but the videos that are private on my channel are private for a reason. So any AuthorTube videos I tried to make in 2018 we're not talking about those. I am redoing everything. So yeah. So with that being said, I have never on this channel talked about why I became a writer, why I chose writing. And you know, for years writing has just felt to me like something it was a talent that I was given. Not to like get too religiously speaking here, because I don't really go into my religious beliefs too much on this channel anymore, but I always kind of felt called to it, so to speak. Like this was what God put me on the earth to do, in a way, or one of the things that God put me on the earth to do. And it all goes back to like, and it does go back to like kindergarten or first grade, because I did write stories when I was younger, and it was just something I did during free time. It was something that I felt called to do. It was something that I like just felt inspired to do. I don't really know why, but I know that in first grade I started reading a lot of Junie B. Jones books. Like those were my first chapter books, and I thought they were so funny, and I wanted to do that. Like I wanted to make something like that. So I tried to be funny, and I would write about the people I knew, fictionalized versions of them. I would make up characters, and I would just do what I could to make something that was funny and cool. And then in second grade, I had Miss Saringhouse, and she was probably my favorite teacher of all time. No offense to any of my other teachers who might be watching this, but like, Miss Saringhouse is goated. She was my favorite teacher of all time. A lot of y'all came very, very close though. But yeah, she set up at some point during the year what she called a writing center, and there were books for us to read for inspiration, and there were like templates for us to write stories with, and I hit the ground running. I was always in the writing corner, and anything that we wrote in that writing corner, she would get bound. And I still have the very first, not here, it's at my mom's house, but the very first book I wrote in that writing center that she bound, and it was like, you know, my first book, despite like, there were things I wrote in kindergarten and first grade, but like, I always recall that as being my first real book. And it was, one day I will do a video reading it on this channel, but we'd have to get it from my mom's house to do that. But I remember it was like right after I had read Ramona the Pest, and so I wrote a story about Jessie. Jessie was one of my two reading buddies that I had when I was in first grade, and looking back, definitely like a childhood crush of mine, but she like wanted nothing to do with me after we weren't reading buddies anymore, and it was very upsetting. But I forgive her because we were literally in elementary school. But I would, you know, take out my desires to be friends with her by writing stories about her. And so I wrote a story about her wanting a new pair of rain boots, because I remember that was like a very prominent plot point and Ramona the Pest, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And it was so dumb, but it was, you know, what really kickstarted my writing career. And, you know, when Miss Herringhouse would buy into these books, at the end of the month or week or at some point, she would have an author party for everybody who wrote a book, and you would get to sit in a big chair and read your book to the class. And I am so sorry for what I put my classmates through, because I wrote some really bad stuff, but not like bad, like inappropriate, but bad as in like just not good, like mediocre at best. But Miss Herringhouse would treat all of these like they were real published books. She would write notes. I remember the principal came to visit once, and I very proudly was like, you should read my book. And she left a note in the back, and the classmates could leave notes in the back and leave reviews. And I just remember like feeling like this was my thing that I could do, was I could write. And if I look back at that book, I'm just like, that was what made me believe in myself. That wasn't even an original plot. But you know, if it weren't for Miss Herringhouse, I don't know if I would have believed in myself as a writer. And it was just something that I kept doing. I used to write and illustrate all my own work. Then in like 3rd or 4th grade, kind of stuck with the writing aspect of it, because I was like, I'm only really good at one of these things. And 4th grade was when I started like really getting into Neopets, and they had the Neopian Times, and it was my dream to write something for the Neopian Times. And I remember I have a whole journal, I believe it is also at my mom's house, but I have a whole journal in 5th grade, or from 5th grade, of stories that I would write during journal time, when the teacher would literally give us a topic and I'd be like, no, I'm gonna write something that I'm gonna type up later and submit to Neopets. They were all bad. Like none of them were good. None of them ended up getting published, but I filled this whole notebook with like stories that I thought, you know, one day I'm gonna write something good enough to be published on Neopets. And we had this recurring substitute teacher, Mr. Peavyhouse. He has such a unique last name, and I've not been able to find him on any social media. But if you're out there, Mr. Peavyhouse, I am a published author now. But he was very supportive of my dreams. Like I used to talk to him about my Neopets stories, and I remember I had him again as a sub in 6th grade, as like a long-term sub when my teacher was on maternity leave. And that's another teacher, Miss Mullally, I had for English in 6th grade. She would read anything that I gave her, and like she was an angel, because I remember what I gave her, and it was not like, it was fan fiction about my life in the 6th grade. And it was not, I don't want to say it was inappropriate, because like I didn't really know how to write smut in 6th grade, but like there's a whole plot point where like I'm like trying to be sexy, whatever my 6th grade interpretation of that is, and it was bad. But she read it and she left me like feedback, and she was like, oh, I really like how you did this and did that. And so, you know, absolute angel, we stan. But we had Mr. Peavyhouse as a long-term sub when she was on maternity leave, and I remember that was when I had finally submitted something to Neopets that they were like, we like this, we're gonna publish this. No, you cannot have the link to it. It was on an old account that I don't use anymore, and it was very bad. And everything else that I published, most of the other stuff that I published on that account was very bad. Like there's some stuff that I still think like, okay, like I was cooking here, but most of it, no. I do not stand by it. You will not get the link to it. I will not tell you my old username. No. But I printed out the letter that I got from Neopets saying, we're gonna publish your story, and I showed it to Mr. Peavyhouse, and he was so happy for me. And I just like, every teacher that believed in me as a writer, honestly, like just means so much to me. Not that there were teachers who didn't believe in me as a writer, there were just teachers that I just didn't bother, you know, showing my work to, but every teacher that I like was very excited about writing to would like match my energy and be very excited back. And it was very, very important for my formative brain. And so like as a teacher now, like when I have students turn in writing, like I make sure like the ones that stand out to me, I tell them like stick with writing. Like there was a student I had last year in my honors class, and like he did things with his final project for my class that I've been trying to do as a writer for years. And I was just like, you gotta stick with this, buddy. Like, so if he's out there for some reason watching this, like I was not kidding when I said, let me know when you publish your first book, because I will be buying like the hardcover fancy signed edition. Like I I want it. I want to read more. But yeah, my teachers were very supportive of me, and that was very important to me. And like the older I got, the more like I started kind of like writing to cope with like things going on in my own life. Like the transition from 5th grade writing only about Neopets to 6th grade writing fan fiction about my own life to cope with things like my ex-best friends not wanting to be my friends anymore, my crush not liking me back, and just like writing my fictionalized version of how all these things could go, where like I came out on top and like I was living my best life. And then that, like, over the course of like probably like late middle school, early high school, I started kind of evolving that more into original characters. And they could have been based off people in real life, but they were definitely more so original characters. And just a big theme of my writing in high school was coping with my mental health being bad. And I would just write things, even if they weren't about me and my friends as fictionalized characters, even if they were about like fully original characters, the point of writing was to escape. And to just like make that other world for myself to escape to. And it was the same reason I was very into playing The Sims and trying to make movies with The Sims and not being very good at it. But I would write things and imagine them as Sims movies. Well, we'll just say movies. That's the word I know how to pronounce. Sometimes I would try to make them and they wouldn't be good, but you know, I would try to imagine those scenes. And like writing in Sims kind of went hand in hand for me for the longest time. Yeah, my senior year of high school was when I started like probably the only project that I still to this day am actively like reworking and someday hope to get published out of anything I wrote in middle school and high school. Well, that's a lie, because what I have in mind for After University Story is based on something I wrote in middle school, but it's like extremely not that. So I'll explain that when we get to it, if that's even the next thing I go for, like, because who knows. I've still got 2 more books and the first one isn't even out yet, so but yeah, I just really connected with this original character and everything that she represented to me, and every like time I wrote about her, it was like an escape for me. And I remember like I would I don't know, I got really attached to this story, and like the more it evolved and changed over the years and like became unrecognizable from the thing that I drafted in my notebook in class senior year of high school, I'm really proud of where it is today, and it's not even near like my next priority in terms of what I want to get published, but it's just something I always go back to, and it's comforting. It's like my comfort writing project. And you know, all through middle school and high school, even elementary school, but mostly middle school and high school, I would have a notebook on my desk at all times and I would be writing. And I've had multiple teachers like either confiscate my notebook or like remind me to pay attention to what we're doing. We're not writing right now. And like my sophomore year math teacher actually signed my yearbook. She was like, I'm really curious to know what you were always working on in my class that wasn't math. And I'm just like, well, boy, do I have news for you. Except nothing that I wrote in that class has ever seen the light of day. But, you know, that was my comfort thing. Like a lot of people are margin doodlers. A lot of people fidget with things like fidget toys. A lot of people have fidget toys as their comfort thing. My comfort thing was writing. And if I couldn't think of what I wanted to be writing in the background of class that day, I would not be able to pay attention to whatever was actually going on. Like I paid attention best when I was writing something in the background, and it was so crazy. And then when my teacher would confiscate my notebook, I'd be like, you don't understand. Like I need this to pay attention. And I think that was my freshman year. So that was before I knew I had autism. And like, even after I got diagnosed, I wasn't really sure how to explain to my teachers, like, I pay attention best when it looks like I am the most not paying attention whatsoever. And like, obviously I would go home and like type up whatever I was working on and would like make it better. Cause like, obviously I wasn't fully giving my attention to that in class if I was also paying attention to the teacher. But that was another thing, is I was often grounded from my computer. So I couldn't type up my stories. And in elementary school, I was like ride or die for handwriting stories. I tried to type up a story in Microsoft Word once, hated it, stuck to handwriting. And then I forget when it was probably like 5th or 6th grade that I just like started typing and never looked back. And, you know, writing was, I would still handwrite because obviously I didn't have my computer in class. This wasn't the Chromebook generation. My gosh, if I had a Chromebook in middle school and high school, like the amount of unproductivity I would have been, like my teachers would have been like catching me on Go Guardian on like Google Docs writing my stories. Yeah, I would have been so productive if I had a Chromebook, but I was always handwriting. And then when I was grounded at home, I would handwrite at home. But I would always, like, while it was writing, be actively thinking of like, this is what I'm gonna change when I type it. Because the thing about handwriting was I couldn't go back and self-edit the way I could with typing. So it would kind of frustrate me and contribute to writer's block, sometimes. But I would do my best. Like sometimes I would buy whole big ass notebooks and be like, I'm gonna write a whole story in this and not look back and not have to make any edits to it, and I would never get very far. Because I'm always thinking of how I can make my stuff better. It's why it takes me so long to like get from start to finish of a book, because I'm always going back and being like, no, I need to fix this, no, I need to fix that. So self-editing is where the bulk of my time goes. By the time it gets to my editor, it's probably been self-edited like a double-digit number of times, like from start to finish. But and especially like when I was like saving up to be able to afford edits, like what could I do but go back and self-edit again and again and again. But yeah, I think I can count on my hand. There are probably 2 things that I hand wrote from start to finish, between middle school and present day, which I don't remember the last time I hand wrote a story. I'm gonna be completely honest, probably like senior year of high school maybe I hand wrote. What I would do is I would handwrite parts of a story, not the whole thing, and then like go plug it into my Word document later that day. That's what I would do like kind of later in high school, when I was less grounded. But yeah, I could count on one hand. I believe there are actually a total of 2 things that I wrote from start to finish between middle school and present day that I didn't look back the entire time I was writing them. Now, both of those things, when I later went to type them up, I'd be like, actually, I want to change a whole bunch of stuff. But while I was writing, I never had the urge to go back and self-edit. Like, and so many of my like stories, you would see little notes in the margins of like things I wanted to change when I got to type them up. Or I would like do like what I called scatter pages of like brainstorming. I would write down like, add this to this chapter, add this to this page. I would print out the amount of printer paper my dad went through and printer ink, printing out my stories for me to then mark up and be like, no, I need to change this, no, I need to change that. And like, I just, it was a comfort thing for me though. Self-editing and writing and just brainstorming even, writing outlines for stuff, like those were all comfort things to me. And it felt like writing down even outlines, it felt like having all this stuff in my head and finally like getting it on paper somehow. It felt like it cleared up space in my head. And I think that contributed to why it was easier for me to pay attention in class if I was writing something in the background, because it was like if I had all those thoughts in my head that I couldn't put somewhere, then it would cloud up my ability to pay attention to what the teacher was saying. So like, yes, it did take some of my attention away, but it also cleared up space in my head to pay more attention. And I can even tell you in college, when I had a laptop, I would often have Scrivener. I would very often have Scrivener open in the background of whatever class I was in. But it was like college, like very rarely did I have a professor that like either noticed or cared. But yeah, the amount of times I had Scrivener open just working on something in the background of my classes, because I couldn't focus until I got those ideas out somewhere, just further proves to me how unproductive I would have been if I had a Chromebook in high school. Or maybe I would have been more productive because I could have gone back and self-edited and not had to like flip back to whatever page I was on and write something in the margin and be like, change this. And also a lot of what inspired me to write, especially in middle school and high school, was music. Like I would hear songs on the radio or be listening to a song on my iPod that I had like had in my library for years and just think about it in a different way. And I'd be like, I want to write a scene that goes with this. And sometimes that would spiral into a whole story or a whole series because I was like, I need to write one scene that goes with this song. And I used to actually like put song lyrics in my stories. Like the things I wrote in 6th grade were taken up like half of the word count was probably me pasting song lyrics, because I was like, I want this song to be in this scene. I want the reader to know that this is the mood. And it was just the whole copyright nightmare. My parents would be like, you have to stop doing this. Like, this is not even like, probably 50% of this is your work. And the other 50% is pasted song lyrics. But all of that to say, I chose writing because it was what I knew I was good at and what I knew made me feel good. And then I remember like, just because like I was only in an honors English class once, my sophomore year, and then I took half, a year of AP English. So only one semester my junior year. And then just like, I was not ready to take an AP class, and it kind of ruined English for me for a little bit. But I was very often like one of the few people I knew who was interested in writing. And I used to get like, if I read things that my friends wrote, I used to like look for the flaws so I could feel better about my own writing, because I was kind of like not a nice person in that way. We're talking like middle school here though, and like early high school. But it's like I was kind of like the main writer of my friend group, and it's like if one of my other friends tried to write something, I'd be like, oh, that's cute, you're trying to be like me, even if like it was actually really good. But it was just like I like identified myself as like, I am the writer, like that is what I am, like I can do this better than anybody else. Even though I very much was not better than everybody else, but I was just like, this is my thing. And I just you know, I would be jealous of my friends who had talents that they could like bring to the school talent show, like singing or dancing or poetry even. Like I've tried my hand at poetry. It's really not my thing. I can do free verse, that's about it. But yeah, and I would just be like, I have this talent that I want to share, and I can share it eventually, but damn, like how long I gotta wait? Or like when my friends would like draw pictures for each other, I'd be so jealous, like I want to be able to give you something, but I can't really write short stories or one-offs. Like everything I write like consumes my entire being, and so like you'll have to wait until I get something published, I guess, and then I can write, and then I can like dedicate it to you. But yeah, you know, I had it in my head that like I can do this better than anybody else, and you know, great for my confidence at the time. But then when I got to college and was an English major and was around other English majors who were better at writing than me, I was like, oh, like I took a fiction writing class in college my senior year, I want to say. It's all blurring together at this point, but I would like read the stuff other people wrote, and I'd be like having kind of imposter syndrome. It's like, wait, am I good at this? But like just the hype that I would get from my friends, even the people in that class, the hype that I would get from friends that I shared my writing with, from my parents, from teachers. I didn't really have a chance to share my writing with my college professors just because they were very busy, and like I understand that now as a teacher. I'm like, if my students gave me something to read, I would be like, I don't know when I would have the time to read it. But yeah, any teacher I gave writing to who read it, like shout out to them. But yeah, although I did give a signed copy of Saving Summer to my professor, Dr. Lewis, I dropped it off at his office because he wasn't there, so never really heard about that, if he got it or not. So if you're out there, Dr. Lewis, please let me know if you got that, or if I need to like go drop off another copy for you. Because I was like, I didn't tell him I was coming. I wanted it to be a surprise. But then like he wasn't at his office, so I'm just like, okay, we'll just give this to him. But yeah, anyway, but yeah, yeah, like the hype that I got from people I shared my work with is what kept me going. Like I had friends who read my stuff in high school, who, I had teachers who read my stuff. I had a counselor that I would see in middle school. I don't remember like what her job exactly was. It was like an extra kind of therapy thing I went to sometimes, and she would read my stuff or I'd read it to her. I remember reading a story I wrote to the principal of my elementary school in 4th grade, and being like, what do you think of it? She would hype me up. Like just the adults that hyped me up, and then my friends later in life who hyped me up, like are really what kept me going. And it's like, I don't believe I'm the best writer in the whole world. Like I once did when I had like whatever the opposite of imposter syndrome was in high school and middle school, but I still believe that like this is what God wanted me to do. Like this is one of the things that God put me on this earth to do, is to write and to share my stories. And I feel like in like the worst absolute depths of my mental health, I go back to writing. Like basically a recession indicator for my mental health is when I can't write. Like I just do not have the mental capacity to write, like, because usually how I cope with my mental health is by writing. So if it's so bad that I can't write, that is like a major like red flag. Like I like need to move up my next therapy appointment. Yeah, so in like the absolute worst depth of my mental health, even when it's so bad that I can't write, I still believe that like I have stories that I need to share. I have like work that needs to be ran through an editor and made into a real book and put out there, because like if anything ever happens to me, I have given my friend Cal permission to delete everything off my hard drive, off my Dropbox account, off my Google Drive. I do not want my raw, unedited, unfinished works going public ever. Like I want anything under my name to be the best product it can be, probably because I have like war flashbacks from when I would just publish things like on Neopets or without having them edited, or just things that I cannot take back. Like because the internet is forever. But I just don't want my raw stuff out there. So like I just, no matter how, like what depth I am in, I just, like one of the things that I have to tell myself is that I have stories to put out there. I'm not to make this dark or anything, because like I don't go there often. Okay, like I'm in therapy, I'm medicated, like I'm not the person I was in high school who like desperately needed professional help. I'm getting like I am being professionally helped. And I have not been like to that dark of a place in a long time. But you know, I have stories that need to be put out there. And so like, if nothing else, man, like you know, I'm here for a reason. And if nothing else, that is a reason that I am here, is to put these stories out, to share these stories. And I think that's why I get so passionate about my work and want it to be the very best that it can be, because I'm like, this is what I am here to do. And this is going to be my legacy. Like if I do nothing else in life, this will be my legacy. And I want it to, you know, and I want like years after I'm gone of natural causes, decades from now, you know, I want my work to be something that I can be proud of leaving behind. That didn't mean to make that really dark. We're fine. Circle back to that point that writing has always been a comfort thing for me, because I have always known like it's what I'm here for. And if I can do nothing else, I can write, except when my mental health gets so bad that I can't, but that's the rare exception. But yeah, you know, it's not very often that it gets to that point. And usually that would be a point where I'm not taking medication that I'm supposed to be taking. So, moving on. It's just, you know, ever since I was a little kid, this has been the one thing that I've consistently stuck with, is that I want to be a writer. And, you know, you know, from the time I was in kindergarten saying I wanted to be a teacher to, which is ironically what I ended up doing, but like to all the years that I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to go to college for. Like, I don't know what I want to study. Like, writing was the one thing that was consistent that whole time. Even if it was like me, my first semester of community college when I was 17, being like, I literally do not care what I do in life if I am not writing. Like, I don't care if I'm living in a cardboard box because I don't have a job. The only job I care about is being a writer. And I'm gonna say that I kind of do want to be able to pay my rent. I do like having an apartment to live in. Do like being able to afford food. So, you know, I'm not quite that passionate about my writing career to that point right now, but it is still what I value first, so to speak. Like, obviously the job that is paying me, that pays my rent, comes first. My students come first. But like, as far as passion, writing will always be first for me. And, you know, not to say that I don't put so much passion into my actual teaching job, but you know, but like, writing has just always been like my number one passion. And, you know, it's what, you know, if I can't do anything else, but and I could still write. You know, like I want to keep my eyes and my wrists as capable, as in good shape as possible for as long as possible, because you know, I want to be able to write as effectively and as comfortably as I can, because it's just, it's my thing, you know. But yeah, that is lots of rambles about why I chose writing. That is this week's video. Thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna have a more fun video for you next week, I believe. That's the plan anyway. And I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see y'all next time I make a video. Bye.